This is my first PyCon, so I would like to know how many of you is the first PyCon too? Quite a few. So, it's quite a nice conference. I always heard that the PyCons are the best conference, and it's proved to be true. And I really enjoyed all the very inspiring stories we heard those 2 days. So I'll try to add my piece to the conference. So, what is Fedora? So, who knows what is Fedora? About half of the room, so that's quite good. If you go in a search engine and you search for Fedora and you look for images, you think that we are people working on hats. So I won't be talking how you can use Python to manufacture hats, but I will be talking about this Fedora, the one that is in the middle. So this Fedora it's a project, so it's a community of people that gathers together on some core values to build the Linux distribution. So one of our main statements is that Fedora is always free to use for anyone, modify and distribute. It is built and used by people across the globe who work together as a community, the Fedora Project. So I think it's very important. Here it's the community word. And our 4 values, they are really centered to this. So freedom, obviously we are, as a Linux distribution, we are trying to promote free software, and we are dedicated to deliver free software and free content to make it available to a lot of users. Friends, we are an open, strong, and caring community where everyone is welcome. Doesn't matter if you are a very technical person or if you're interested in other subjects. We have a place for everyone, and everyone is welcome to help us. Features. One of the main things with our Linux distribution and with Fedora is to try to push for excellent software and to try to get to work with upstream communities to get new features in Fedora. And first, so that's really related to the features. We're trying to be the first distribution to give like new features to users. So, example of this, for example, Fedora was the first distribution to make the Wayland display server as a default for the users. So that's quite good for the users and for the upstreams community also, so they can test new features. And we also are innovators, and we are trying to break the common ideas and bring new ideas into the world of Linux and try to push for new things. So currently there is a big project which is Fedora modularity, where we're trying to solve this problem, which is where your operating system is either too slow or too fast for the user. So we're trying to give a user with a base operating system which is stable, but they are able to install applications which are moving much faster. So for example, you can have a very stable operating system and try to get a new release of Django framework or new release of JavaScript. So that's how we're trying to bring new features and trying to innovate in the Linux world. And that's the reason why I'm here today, that Fedora loves Pythons. So you can check this URL, fedoralovespythons.org. And a lot of people working on the Fedora project or in the Fedora community are Pythonista. And a lot of the tools we are using is Python, and we are also maintaining a big stack of Python application in the distribution. So for example, you have PyPy, MicroPython, Jythons. You got a lot of different implementation of Python. We got also data science packages like NumPy, SciPy, Pandas, and a lot of things. So as I said, Fedora is welcoming, and we have a very large scale of fields where people can contribute. So ambassadors, which are people that are going to conferences or to meetups and talk about Fedora. Community operations, it's people that are trying to bring each side of the community together and make communication easier between the different parts of the community. We also have people doing some design work on website or some of the application I'll show you later. We have some effort in the documentation also. I'll go the Apple packages. So for the Apple packages are extra packages coming from Fedora that you can install on a CentOS server or Red Hat Linux Enterprise. Infrastructure and marketing also, it's quite a nice aspect if you're not someone who is like very technical and you would like to get to contribute to an open source project. We have the magazine where we write articles, so that if you will feel like writing and you feel more confident in writing, it's a nice place to contribute to. But today I'm going to talk in a bit more. I'm going to talk a bit more about what we are doing in the infrastructure of Fedora and what does it take for a community to release a Linux distribution. So how many people here are working in infrastructures? A little. So for people who are working in infrastructure, this is the daily life of system administrators and developers. So everything is always on fire. There is always something broken that you have to fix. And you kind of become like this dog and just like, well, yeah, this is fine. Just have a cup of coffee and try to fix everything. So that's a little bit our daily life in Fedora's infrastructure. So a few numbers. We have about 72 virtual hosts. On those virtual hosts, we are running almost 400 virtual guests, so 400 like virtual machines. We have 30 services that are running and monitored by the team, and if one of those services is failing or stop working in the middle of the night, we got some people that are on call and they're going to wake up and try to bring the service back. We also have an OpenStack cloud, which is available for community members to deploy their application if they are interested in some project. So, for example, this summer we have Google Summer of Code student, which is working on deploying happiness packages in Fedora. So I don't know if we have the creator of happiness packages here, but that's an application where you can send emails to people in the community to say, oh, thank you for helping on this. It's try to get a bit of happiness in the community. And when you open your email client, you don't have like, oh, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, but you have like a nice message, or oh, thank you for fixing this for me, or thank you for doing that. So this kind of application, as a community member, you can show and say, oh, it would be nice, I would like to try to deploy this, and we have some hardware and some virtual machine available for that. We have two environments, so we have a staging and production environment. Staging where we can test new features, new release, new application, and where it can be broken pretty much. And production environment, which is what you are seeing as a user. So Fedora Project is sponsored by Red Hat, and we have the community platform engineering team, which are like people that are paid full-time to look after and help the community and help the infrastructure. So we currently have four system administrators, 5 application developers. We have also three designer and UX engineers, and 3 people working on the kernel. So they are a bit less involved in infrastructure, but they are still there. For example, when the whole meltdown specter happens, it was very good to have people with kernel experience within the team, so we could fix and update our infrastructure very quickly. So what are we doing? So I will be talking a lot about the application part. So within the infrastructure, our job is also to support the community by building tools and applications. So we have a lot of applications. We have about 72 Python applications in our GitHub organization. And about half of this, so about 35, are actually really maintained. There is, I think those 35, they had at least 1 commit within the 1 year space. So that's quite a lot of applications for 5 developers. And that's only on GitHub. We also are present, we have also a few projects on GitLab and in our internal Git source forge. Also, so some of the names are a bit funny, and I guess most of you are aware of what are the 2 most difficult problems in computer science. So that's cache invalidation and naming things. So we have like quite funny names in the infrastructure. But the good thing is that we are aware about it, and we are quite making fun of it. So you can see in some of the applications, we got like the name is total overkill. Or we even have like a Git repository where people are trying to pronounce the name of the application. So for me, it's easy because I'm French and it's a French name, but this is called Pogure. And it gives a lot of difficulties to everyone in the community. But that's quite fun. So we decided not to use French name anymore. So it's banned from the project names. Sorry about that. So I'll go over a few of those applications which are in use in our community, but they could be also used in other communities or into your organization if you wish. So all those applications are obviously open source and free software, so they are you are free to reuse them, modify them, and redistribute them. So Tahrir, it's a web application that allows the community to use open badges. Open badges is it's an initiative that was started by Mozilla, and it's pretty much trying to bring games into a community. And when you do and achieve some things for the community, you will receive some virtual digital badges as a recompense for your effort. So some examples I put there. So you got this like nice welcoming panda, and it's like when you join the community and you edit a wiki page to introduce yourself, say like who you are, what you are interested in, you earn this little panda. The one in the middle it's a samurai. That's when you join the infrastructure team. We have like an apprenticeship program, so you become an apprentice, and then you earn this badge. And the last one is when you join a meeting. So we have our meeting on IRC, and when you join a meeting and you say hi, when you just get involved in the meeting, you get those badges. This is quite a nice way to get contributors to get involved in the community, and it becomes a game. You try to collect badges, and so the more things you do, the more badges you get, and there are like different levels of things. This is also a very good way for people that are interested in design. So all those badges are developed by the community members. So if you're into design and you would like to get involved, there is a lot of opportunities there to create new badges. And so this application is a web application, and it's built on top of the Pyramid framework, and we're using Flask SQL Alchemy. and the macro template engine. You can check the application on the badges.fedoraproject.org, and the code is on GitHub. Fedocol, so this one is a web application, which is a calendar, and pretty much it's, before we had this application in the community, people used to coordinate their meetings or coordinate efforts on a wiki, so they would just edit a wiki page and like put information. So this application is a calendar where you can like put your meetings, and it will send emails, like reminders emails. It will send reminders emails to the people interested to this meeting. Also, you have the iCal feed. So this is a standard for calendars, and you can import the feed into your like Google Calendars or any other calendar application, and you will receive updates. So this application is built on top of Flask, SQL Alchemy, Python, and Python VObject for the iCal feed. So because we have so many projects and we are so little developers, we're trying to keep the technology relatively sane and try to reuse the same framework. So we have some legacy applications which are using Pyramid, or we have some Django stack also. We even have turbo gears. Does anyone worked with turbo gears before? No, nobody. Okay. So yeah, we have some quite old technology stack, but we're trying to stick now to Flask and some SQL Alchemy is our default for Postgres and Postgres database. Pogure is a quite recent project. It's quite close to my heart. It's how I started with the Fedora community. And it's a Git-centered source force, so it's Fedora's GitHub. So pretty much when Fedora moved to Git, there was a need to have an interface for the Git repository, for the community project, and there were a few issues with the current solution. So GitHub is not really free software, but it's not free software. GitLab is an open core, so you have a free community edition, but you don't have the full code, which is open source and free. And also, it's quite difficult to package, so we're trying to keep the application in our infrastructure package as RPMs. So we started a project to build our own interface to Git repository, and also we wanted to solve the problem is that when you go to GitHub or GitLab and you start put information into those platforms, you are actually, it's very difficult to get back your data. So all the comments you put on issues, all the comments you put on pull requests, if one day you decide to leave GitHub or GitLab, there is no easy way to get all those informations. So Pogure solves this issue by making available all the data you have into Git repositories. So your code is a Git repository, your tickets are a Git repository, pull request, and documentation. So someone can just go git clone this project pull request, and you will have all the history of the project into a Git repository with JSON formatted information. So that's quite useful also if you want to do some offline edition. You can, for example, you have a long flight, you can clone your ticket repository, and you can work offline on your ticket. There is a way to push back the repository after, and it updates the database of the website. So again, this is built on Flask with SQL Alchemy and PyGit2 for the interface with the Git repository. And also, there is a distributed task queue system with Celery and Redis. We are also using, so we have two websites for this. We have Pogure.io, which is focused for the community members to just host their personal project or community project. And we have src.fedoraproject.org, where the packagers are hosting the spec files and everything needed to actually package application into Fedora, into RPMs. Next application, it's Bodhi. So Bodhi, it's more related to actually Fedora. And it's an application which is used to facilitate how we deliver updates to users. So when you start your laptop and you do an update, DNF update, the updates have been previously checked and tested, and Bodhi is in charge of making this update testing and giving feedback to updates a bit easier for the community members. So this is one of those legacy applications which is using Pyramid and SQL Alchemy. And another application which could be used, and it's used by other communities, it's Anita. So this is a very useful application which will, so if you are a developer of a library or a project, you can go to this website, to releasemonitoring.org, and you can add your project, and Anita will periodically check if you release new software. And every time it sees a new release of a library that is registered to this website, it will send notifications. So for example, in Fedora, we are using this to notify the application maintainers or library maintainers that a new version of, for example, Django was released. Actually, Django might be not a very good example because everybody heard about it, but I don't know, for example, like a smaller library that you might not follow all the time, you will get an email, or in Fedora you get a bug to tell you that there is this new release available, and it's quite useful because you can register your application. There are different backends. So if your application is hosted on GitHub, on PyPI, it does also Perl, Rust, lots of different languages, Ruby also. So it's quite useful for not only for Fedora community, but also for different open source community. And the last, so we got all those applications together, and in the interest of making those applications communicate and in interest of automating tasks, we have the Fed message, which is a federated message bus, and pretty much all our applications are sending messages to this bus, and we can subscribe to those messages and trigger automatic tasks. So I'll show you. So it's built on top of 0MQ. And so I'll show you a little bit how our infrastructure looks. The diagram is a bit outdated, but the main thing to take out of this scary diagram, it's the bus and application. So you got on one side, application will publish message. For example, Fedocol. You might create a new meeting in the calendar, and it will publish a message on the bus. And on the other side, you have applications that are consuming those messages. So for example, IRC bot. and the bot will say, "Oh, someone just triggered just created a new meeting, so I can push that on a IRC channel and notify people that are on this channel." So this is actually used by us, Fedora, but it's also in use by the Debian project. And it was used by some administration in France, but I think they moved to another system. So how do we manage all those applications? So we are packaging all our Python application using RPMs. That gives us the ability to reproduce the builds and to control also licenses of the libraries. And we have also all the infrastructure to create RPM and to release RPM relatively easily. So that's a great choice for us, and it works very well. Most of the servers we have, we are deploying on Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7. But we are also using Fedora on servers. It's a bit more demanding because of the release cycle, which is every 6 months. But now that we have, so the next line, we are using Ansible to manage the deployment and the configuration. Now that we have quite good playbooks with Ansible, it's much easier to create a new, to update to new version of Fedora. Most of our web applications are served by Apache HTTP and the ModWSGI module. So this is a choice because we have those applications which are like, because we have people on call, we're trying to stick to one web server so they are familiar with it, and if they have to wake up at 3 in the morning, they know where to go to look for the logs, or they know how to restart the application. So we're trying to stick to one technology for that. But we are starting to use containers, and we are using Openshift as a runtime platform. And with use of containers, we are starting to use some Python web server like GUnicorn or uWSGI. So our Ansible repository is public also, so it's available online, and you can go and look at how we are doing things. If you want to help also into cleaning up some old playbooks or so I just put the basic concept of Ansible there. We got inventory, where we define all our hosts and what they are doing. The playbooks is just like a way of scripting tasks and commands. And we have predefined roles. So for each of our applications, we will have a specific roles. Like, for example, install the Flask RPM, install Apache HTTP and things like that. So you can go check out. Everything is public. Python 3. So we are not that bad. So when I was preparing the talk, I thought we were worse than that. But we currently have over our 35 maintained applications. We got 16 applications which have both support for Python 2 and Python 3. We have two applications which are Python 3 only, and 17 applications which are Python 2 only. So we are planning to drop some of the Python 2 applications. And in our effort to move more and more applications to OpenShift and to containers, we are actually going to do this effort of porting. While we port an application to a container environment, we're going to do the effort of porting to Python 3. As you can see, we got many applications, many web frameworks. And if you're interested in getting involved and join the community and like have fun, you can reach out. So, as I said, in the Fedora Infrastructure, we have an apprenticeship program where you can join a meeting, say, hi, I'm interested to get involved in the Fedora Infrastructure. You will be added to a group with like some, and you will get access to some of our machines, so you get SSH remote access. And so you can go and explore a bit the VMs. So I put some details, contact details there, and I will upload the slides on GitHub. You can also reach me out on Twitter if you would like to talk about some of the application or how to get involved and how to join. So that's pretty much everything for me. If there's questions.
Thank you, Clément. We have some questions. So, do you configure Redis for high availability? How?
No. So our current Redis queue is just the basic settings, and we are looking to move from Redis to RabbitMQ. Because we have, it's not really Redis, but RabbitMQ has like a much nicer way of monitoring queues, so you can have a bit of monitoring and visibility of what's happening on the message we have. So yeah.
Right. You mentioned you use ModWhiskey.
Yeah.
What other app servers do you use?
So yeah, as I said, we mostly use Apache HTTP server, but yeah, in containers we are mostly using GUnicorn because it's much smaller to add in the containers than Apache.
All right, thank you. And will there ever be a long-term support release for Fedora?
I don't think so. No, it's not the I shouldn't say as I said because two of our 4 values is features and first. So really the goal of the project is to try to be first and to bring new features to users. If you look for long-term support, this is more where the CentOS or Red Hat Enterprise Linux comes. But this might change with modularity and modules. It's still early. We don't really know what shapes it's going to take, but you can imagine having a relatively slow-moving base Fedora, where this slow-moving base would be kind of long-term support, and then user can decide how fast they want to go with the application using modules.
Thank you, and thank you for your work.
That's a nice question. Nice question.
This is not a question. How did that get past
I like this question.
Right? So does anybody have a question? Nobody. You all want the coffee break to start. So please thank Clément.
Thank you.